All right, welcome back to another Seek One podcast. We have special guest Tyler Jordan with us.
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going good. How are you liking your time down here, doing something a little bit
I
different?
like it a lot. I like it a lot. So we just got done with. I still haven't even told the whole story of Kimbo the Ohio deer yet.
Hmm.
I've been trying to get Drew and Kendall together because I want. They haven't even heard the whole story.
Right.
And I'll give a quick bit of details, but it's like uh, found a dead body in an abandoned vehicle, witnessed a shots fired deal, or basically a shooting of a dog in a park in front of a bunch of kids. Like there was a pit bull fight. This guy pulled out a handgun, dumped it into this dog in this park. The property we were hunting, they found like a 12-year-old on the property in May. One of the other properties I had permission on, someone overdosed in a homeless camp, like on our property, and I had like trail cam pictures of the whole sort of scene unfolding, like people coming out of the woods and stuff. They drove like an ambulance down the railroad track to come get this person.
But you found a dead body, like you walked up on a dead body.
No, well, in the abandoned vehicle, and
Okay.
it was in a like a big plastic bin container. And I can
Wow.
tell that story, like that's the stories that I'm wanting to unpack. I haven't even unpacked them yet.
Yeah.
But like the places we were hunting there were, dude, they were not safe in any way, shape, or form. Like, and when I say we push like the urban game to the limits and the extremes, like I mean that. And that's sort of segueing into like why I'm even here at y'all's farm to come hunt, was like I personally needed to take a step back from the drama, the craziness, like just the stuff you deal with every day, suburban hunting
Sure.
type deal.
Sure.
And then the last day, there's still so much more that I haven't even talked about. But like even the last day when we were leaving town, I don't know if I told you this, but we were like getting scenic shots and B-roll and stuff, just kind of like getting some filler space footage for the episode. And we were filming like this vacant house. Long story short, these guys come out of the vacant house, and Cody was filming, just getting some footage, and they got all so mad at us for filming. They just saw this camera.
Wow.
And they're like, "What are y'all doing?" And Cody's like, "Oh, filming a documentary." And then one guy was like, "You better get the F out of here," and pulled out his handgun and racked it.
Dude.
And so we were like,
That's
"Okay, time to
crazy.
go." So that, dude, I'm telling you, it was.
And that's after you killed.
That was after,
Okay.
after we had killed it.
So how many days total from, I guess, whenever you started in the summer, all the way up until you killed him, until right then when you left to the vacant house? How many days total did you spend up there?
I I'd been looking for him since last November, so it's
Okay.
almost a year. I made what I can recollect 10 trips. It may have been 11, may have been a little more. I don't remember fully because like everything seems to just be a blur.
Yeah.
20-hour round trip each time. So like it was a lot. And I'd been looking for this deer since November of last year. Basically right after I'd killed my last buck in Ohio, it was boom, jumping right into the next thing. And so I've been making a ton of trips, and had matched a video that was taken with some graffiti, and it took me weeks to even find where that graffiti was. But then I started door knocking all in that area. Well, I was in the wrong place. The deer was 4 miles away. And long story short, like just some dots were connected. A buddy of mine knew a buddy of his that caught one of the deer, and he had a place to hunt up there to hunt that deer. And like word got back to me, and I ended up becoming buddies with this guy, and we were like, just keeping tabs with each other, sharing pictures,
Sure.
Whatever. So, the deer ended up being 4 miles away from where I'd been searching for, months.
Wow.
It's a long story,
I
but
can't wait
that's
for the
not
video.
it's not the purpose of the podcast, but it is what brought me down here, because the suburban stuff is so stressful at times, and it's like it's really nice to kind of take a step back,
Yeah.
and not deal with tight property lines, and just like that's what I've enjoyed the most about when I've gone out to Kansas and bounced around on permission and public out there, and then also like when we hunted with our buddy Bo Martonic on some big woods public up in Pennsylvania last year. It was so much fun to just like have a lot of ground to work with and just hunt, like just go and hunt. And you don't get to do that with the suburban stuff. So like being able to be out here at y'all's place, which is like beyond beautiful. I mean, this
Oh
place
man,
is amazing.
and now
It's
and
cool to
some
be
of that
here.
too, like, and I think I know the answer to this, but just reading your post the other day, like I know a lot of people that liked it and saw it, but as far as like getting back to your roots,
Yeah.
like I mean, I guess like even some of this coming down here, what your plan is later this week, going to hunt with friends, is that kind of what you were like had in mind and vision?
Yeah. Yeah. Back to the roots is, you know, part of my roots was the story of us, Drew and I, starting in Atlanta, and that's where we really got the wheels turning and kind of was able to like do stuff on our own. But at the same time, like my first real introduction to hunting was like hunting at a buddy of mine's place, not far from here, and we would before we could drive, we're 14, 15 years old, and hopping in my buddy's dad's truck and going up to their farm and just like hunting. And
Yeah,
to me, like I think back on those times a lot, and it's I want to get back to that for sure. More family, friends, the camaraderie of it all. And so I feel like I've just entered this place of like, okay, let's take a step back for a second and look back at everything. Maybe look at the things I liked, that I didn't like, the things I enjoyed, and the stuff that stressed me out, and let's kind of reevaluate, where to go from here. Because I do feel like I have pushed the suburban game as far as it can possibly be pushed. And like hunting that area, especially, getting into the age I am, 33, looking to, get serious with a lady friend before too long, looking to start a family, stuff like
sure.
that. It's like you can't be doing that.
Yeah,
That's not realistic.
it's a lot of time away from home.
Yeah. And the suburban deal is it's a young man's game.
Yeah.
I don't want to be 50 years old. Not knocking any guys that are out there 50 years old still doing it, because there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But I personally don't want to be 50 and still like, banging on Miss Susie's door over and over again, talking to different people,
Yeah.
trying to get hunting permission. It's like, looking down the road, I'm just kind of personally like reevaluating.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is like I've stood by this statement for a long time, that if hunting ever became something that because of the filming and all of that stuff, if the filming side ever interfered with my love for hunting, I would literally at the drop of a dime be done with it.
Yeah.
Done with the filming stuff, and then I would go back to what I love about hunting.
Sure.
Because that's when you're talking about your passion, like that's a big deal. And
Yeah.
there's no amount of career or credit, what recognition, whatever whatever you're looking for. Like there's no amount of that I would trade to still love to hunt, and it's my passion. It's like I wouldn't ever give up the love of hunting for X, Y, and Z on the other side.
Sure. No, and I mean, I think I even, we've talked about this, even last night some too, but, even just myself personally, like going through some of the stuff in the last couple of years for me, like that's kind of why I've spent so much more time here, because these are the woods I grew up in.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been super lucky and blessed, just like yourself, to travel and visit a lot of cool places. I've been able to do that with my dad, with other people that I enjoy being around. But I think, I made a decision at the end of last deer season, that, I was going to try to focus more on, doing stuff around here, whether that was filming or not filming. I've spent so many days already this year here in Georgia on our farm with no camera, and I just kind of needed that a little bit, because I think, I feel like I've had a camera probably on me since I was 3 or 4 years old. And it's been like that every single deer season, and traveling for that. And don't get me wrong, really enjoy it, really love it, even still. But, I think at the end of last season, find out my wife's pregnant. We're looking at, obviously expanding that family, possibly moving up here somewhere on the farm. And I just think you go through different, phases and changes of life. And, for me, it was like, what does that next phase look like? I don't know if it means not that I won't ever do it again, but I don't know if it means spending 2 weeks in Nebraska,
Mm-hmm.
being gone to Kansas for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
and so I think kind of when you said getting back to your roots, I was like, man, I've honestly, I've said the same thing to people, because to me, this is what I enjoy so much up here, whether we film anything or not. What I look forward to more than anything at the end of the day is meeting back up at the deer cooler,
Yeah.
grilling deer burgers, backstrap. And so it's been kind of nice to and to sleep in your own bed.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to do that.
That's
so
that's a very overlooked thing that is really we take it for granted a lot, is just to sleep in your own bed.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Oh man, it's great. I know my wife is really thankful too, and so we're expecting our first one in March, and so that kind of puts things in a little bit of perspective. But you talk about different phases that you go through in your hunting career. Whether you do it on television or not. I think when I was anywhere from 10 to maybe 20 years old, it's like I went with my dad into different places. And then maybe at the end of that, kind of want to do more stuff on my own, and go travel different places, and so it's just it's kind of nice being able to, look at what does the next phase look like, and try to figure it out.
So we can kind of circle back to the next thing, like the future plans kind of thing, because that's kind of what I want to finish with. But what I wanted to dig into with this podcast, because I just think it'd be really interesting, is like, well, first off, we are on the back end of everything we've talked about. Like, I just hit a limit with Suburban Deer. Was kind of venting to you a little bit and just talking about stuff, because we've become good friends. And you were like, man, come down to the farm. Like, come hunt, hang out, like, go shoot a doe. If we got a couple 8-pointers we're after, like, just hunt. Don't stress.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I'm like, I mean, I jumped at the opportunity. I'm like super grateful to be here. So thank you for that. But the podcast that we've been talking about doing one for a while, and I think a cool, just like topic of conversation is like, social media and like filming and that side of the hunting industry has changed so much from where it was to where it is today. And like, I could not imagine being 3, 4, 5 years old right now and having my life filmed every day.
Yeah.
But just being born into that, like, it, like, you don't know any different. It's just almost normal life. Like, I would never wish that upon my kids, to be born into that, like, in today's, culture. But back in the day with like TV and stuff, it was just different. There wasn't as much, there wasn't social media where everyone's like, bantering back and forth. It was like, you're producing TV shows, and it's like,
people used to write letters, whether it was good or bad. I mean,
and that's their
form of
a comment.
And that's their form of a comment, or comment on a post. And I mean, it was definitely a different day, back then. But that's just, there was probably only really 5 or 6 shows, like in TNN, the Nashville network. I mean, it was the big network at the time. Jim Shockey, Tom Miranda, Larry Wassoon, Jackie Bushman, a big part of that. And I just don't really know any different for me. Like, I remember coming up here, Dad used to have another lease that's close to this farm, but filming the opening and the closing for the show, for TNN. I'd do that all the time, fishing with my dad out
when
here.
you were how old?
3 or 4.
And that's what I'm wanting to dig into, is like, to me, that is such a unique thing. And it's like, it's a cool story, because it makes you, who you are. But it's like, I couldn't imagine 3 or 4 years old and you're opening and closing like TV shows.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, that, like, an outsider looking at it, that's like a super cool thing. I know we're about the same age, but like, I watched all those shows growing up too.
It was cool, but it's like, man, there's a part of me, kind of what you said about not wishing it, like on your kid. Like, I don't know if I'll do that with my daughter.
Yeah.
And not that it was, like, obviously it worked out great. I love this business. I love hunting. I love being around it. But I felt like, I grew up in front of the camera, whether that's good or bad, almost like a childhood actor in a way. Not that I'm a childhood actor.
You're a Macaulay Culkin of the hunting.
Hopefully I didn't end up as bad as him.
No.
But, you kind of just, so many comments, even still, people come up when they see me is, man, I watched you grow up.
Yeah.
And there's part of me that's like, man, that's really cool. That's also kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know, you've
yeah.
seen it. You've seen the good and the bad. Because, you know, I mean, literally on those shows, we'd show everything, whether it was a miss or a successful hunt or, you know, whatever it was. So, you know, I kind of don't really know any different, you know, and that's kind of what's been nice for me is I know we want to end on this, but it's just kind of taking a step back
Yeah.
from that action. And that's why I have really good people that are helping with some of the road trips content, the Realtree content, like Brian Brown, Michael Pitts, Ben McDonald, Austin Riley, Riley Green, you know, people that can kind of take up a little bit of that slack and, you know, let me get a little bit of a breather from that. I think college was really good for me with some of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but really all the way up until I was maybe, you know, 21, 22 years old, you know, always had a camera on me to some extent. You know,
So basically from you're saying 3 years old,
yeah,
pretty much all the way up to now, essentially,
Yeah.
like you were part of hunting shows, like in hunting shows. I mean,
all the
7,
time.
8, 9, 10, 11, all the way through.
The only times that I remember not really being a part of a hunting show, the first deer I ever shot was a doe, actually on this farm. We're probably where we're doing this interview right now. We're maybe 400 yards away from where I shot my first doe with a bow, and so I didn't have a camera with me then. But I think I've shot 6 turkeys without a camera just because I just wanted to go do it,
Yeah.
just not have a camera with me. I just wanted that experience solo, but everything, you know, from my first turkey when I was 8, first deer when I was 9, and everything in between other than the ones I just mentioned, always had a camera.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And, you know, and like even like when we were on ESPN, like when we made that transition, this was so weird for me.
So
And like,
y'all's was it Realtree Road Trips?
nope, it was Realtree Outdoors. So
Realtree Outdoors, and that was on ESPN.
We went from TNN, and I think it was in the year 2000 or 2001, we made the transition to ESPN. TNN dissolved. It actually turned into, somebody will correct me from here, like the Spike Network or something like that. But it turned into something completely different than what it
ESPN
was.
is big time.
Well, yeah, and so it was Saturday and Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, it was definitely, you know, but the show came on, I think, at 8 a.m., which is, I mean, it's kind of prime time. And so the numbers would do just about as good as, you know, on TNN. But the thing about ESPN was I don't think we showed impact shots. So whenever we made the move over there, like you had the viewership, you had the numbers that were similar to TNN, but I don't think we could show impact. So
but ESPN, you could show impact.
No, I'm sorry. TNN, you could. I don't think ESPN, you could.
Okay, gotcha.
So when we made the move over there, we just.
So how would that work? Like they film you shoot, but just don't show the animal.
Don't show the impact. That's correct. Don't show the animal.
But you show the animal running off.
Show the animal running off, and then you know if they would try to soften it up. But if the animal did drop on camera, they would try to not show maybe all of it.
Similar to YouTube these
Similar
days.
to YouTube.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm going to take it even a step further back, and then we'll pick it back up. But, like, I don't know if I've ever even really heard, like, how Realtree even started, like the day one of it with your dad.
Here.
I know. Well,
you should have asked him.
Honestly, we could probably do another podcast with him another time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here till Friday afternoon. Maybe we do one tomorrow. I bet people would love to hear that story. That would
be
really cool.
We could almost make it a part of this, but you know, we'll get Dad to do it, and I'll like give a brief summary of it.
So I was at lunch with Johnny.
Yeah.
And I tried to get him to come on the podcast. He's like, I got to go to the office. But we were standing there. That was my first time actually meeting your dad. We've kind of just like barely missed each other from, you know, in passing. But that was my first time meeting him, and we're all standing there around there chit chatting and stuff. And he probably got like 2 or 3 phone calls. They were all from like
spam.
Yeah. And he answers every one of them.
Yeah.
And so we get back in and I didn't know he was talking about.
Yeah.
And so we get back in the car, and Johnny's like cracking up. And he's like, Bill, he'll answer any spam call, and he'll sit there and talk to the person. And so he and I devised this like really funny plan. And maybe we do it on the podcast, but maybe we just do like a Instagram reel.
Dude.
Where if I called your dad and put him on speakerphone, any hunting a deer named Bruce on the phone? Bruno.
Yeah.
I was going to call him, say, hey, this is Roger. I'm actually leasing some of y'all's ground on y'all's farm. hey, I just killed this deer. I think y'all call him Bruno. I was wanting to know if you could come tracking with me, if I can get a picture with you and Bruno. And then even take it a step further and be like, yeah, we also we had a real good. We shot 2 turkeys this morning too. Just see if he would buy into it, because it sounds like he would.
So either that, that's great. He would definitely buy into it, because he would buy into that. Or what I've done, I have a video on my phone. I was with my sister and my mom, and I was a telemarketer. And I had him on the phone for 5 minutes, and I did a voice like,
do you want to try this right now,
Mr. Jordan? Are you over age 65? He's like, I'm 47 years old. I'm freaking hacked off. You'd even ask me that. And so, we can try it right now if you want
I'll
to.
try it.
Okay.
If this doesn't work, we'll just cut it out of the podcast.
You want to stick with the deer one?
I'm going to stick with the deer one, yeah.
Okay, that'll be really good.
Type in his phone number, because I don't want to I obviously don't want to this could be hilarious. I don't know. But Johnny's like, he will answer.
Dang, the one time.
We can try him again.
Try to call him right back.
Your call has been
Call him just right back.
automated.
Oh, wait, you got it 2 times from the same number? You're definitely answering.
If he doesn't answer, he doesn't have his phone. Because if you call my dad, he answers. I'm so surprised by that.
Will he call back?
No.
He doesn't ever call back.
No, he doesn't. He won't call back. I'm just so surprised he doesn't. Trying to think where he could be. Let me ask Wes where he is.
Okay, we can pick that. That actually might be hilarious. We probably need to do that. But so, anyways, yeah, we can do another podcast with him where he can kind of tell like the full story. But if you could give me kind of the nutshell of it,
yeah,
or just the Cliff Notes version.
Back in the 80s, there was really no other camouflage brand. Tree Bark was one. Tree Bark, very well known, I think, for kind of kicking off that camouflage evolution. Dad always talks about, the only camouflage that was available for people was you either go to Kmart, Walmart, and there was military camo.
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. There was no camouflage brand. I don't even think Tree Bark was in either one of those. And, I'd say that, so Dad he drew the very first pattern, which I think is mine and your probably favorite pattern.
The original.
I love the OG. And so, he drew that in his mom and dad's backyard.
Like hand drew it.
Hand drew it. And so Dad had his dad started a boat dealership here in Columbus, successful business. He ran that with his brother. Right when Dad left to go start Realtree, his dad was telling him, don't do it. Like, you're a little bit said, like, you're kind of a fool to even think like this would even work. You have a sustainable business here. You can do this with your brother. You can support your family this way, but to go out and risk, this, like, your brother's basically going to have the business, if you decide to go off and do this. And he's like, Dad, I have to just go try it. I just think, and Dad's a pretty good artist. Like, he can draw really good. And he was like, I just have to go at least try this. And so I think at SHOT Show back in 86 when he first went, I think Mossy Oak was there the same year, but there was other camouflage brands that were there too. But, Dad, I think, didn't even realize those other brands were there. He was just trying to figure out, like, how do I separate myself from these other brands?
Right.
And his biggest thing was he's really good at networking, really good at marketing. So he sent, and mailed a bunch of pictures to Cabela's, Bass Pro, Walmart, Kmart.
Kmart was selling hunting stuff.
A ton of hunting stuff.
Really?
It was honestly, but them and Walmart probably the biggest, along with Bass Pro.
Huh.
Kmart was huge at the time. Now I don't even think Kmart's in business.
I don't think they're. I think Kmart's done.
I think they are. But he had all those people in his booth at SHOT Show that very first week,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was the guy at Walmart that came in there and said Wally Switzer is the guy's name. I love it when Dad tells the story because I feel like I pick up something new every time. But basically, Wally was like, Bill, can you manufacture us 40,000 pair of pants and 40,000 pair of shirts and also jackets? And Dad, other than designing the camouflage, he couldn't manufacture. He had to partner with somebody to do that. And I think that's where a lot of the other camouflage brands, other than maybe Mossy, went wrong. Maybe was that Dad's idea was to maybe go and license. It was based off that show. Whenever Dad was like, no, there's no way I can do that. Wally was like, man, why don't you go down, a couple of booths from you, go meet the guy at Walls. So Walls Apparel was huge at the time. I forgot the name of the glove company. There was also a boot company. He said, why don't you talk to them about what it would take to get Realtree on those items? And so from that show, licensing was basically born. And so Realtree has primarily been, we manufacture a little bit of stuff now, but it's primarily been a licensing business. And I think, too, other than that, like, I credit Jackie Bushman and Buckmasters as much as anybody because he really brought Dad in, when you had Dale Earnhardt, Richard Childress, Chipper Jones, Jeff Foxworthy coming to those events, Bo Jackson, Jackie put all those people in Realtree, and it made Realtree kind of cool for all those guys.
Right, catapulted it.
Steve Barkowski with the Falcons, he quarterback back then, and I just think those guys kind of believing in Dad and thinking Realtree's cool kind of gave Dad some validity and some marketing power that maybe other companies didn't have. And
right.
I think the NASCAR relationship, was big time too. I know Earnhardt, really wanted Realtree plastered on his car, really wanted to be on the videos, really wanted to be on Monster Bucks. And so that group of people, some of the names I just mentioned, I think are a big time responsible for, kind of taking Realtree to that next level.
Yeah. Which is crazy because, like, well, first thing is, like, it's crazy how such a small decision can lead to such, like, a totally different path.
Yeah.
It's like if your dad was like, you know what, Dad, you're right. I'm going to stick with this business. It's like none of this Realtree would have never been born.
Sure.
And it's like it's crazy that even just a very small decision like that just has such grand responses and consequences. And
I think if Dad would have been, he can say it on the podcast, but I think if he were to have been the older brother, like his brother was the older brother. So I think if he would have been the oldest brother, I think he would have stayed in the boat business full time. I don't think this ever would have happened.
Yeah.
And he even kind of admitted that. He's like, look, I knew my older brother was likely, it was his business, and rightfully so. Older brother, I was always going to be the youngest, and he always kind of be working for him. So he's like, man, this is my chance to go off and do something a little bit different. But just like making that decision, it's the relationships too. And Dad talks about that. He credits, Dad has been super blessed with a lot, but I think what he's been blessed the most with is probably just the right people.
Yeah.
And that's personalities, but it's also people internally too that, I feel like have always, really had his back and wanted to see him and this brand succeed. Because without those names, I mean, it just doesn't, it doesn't happen. And without the Walmart guy really recommended, man, why don't you try licensing? He credits Wally Switzer for really giving him that idea. And if not, he probably would have gone the manufacturing route, and there's really no telling where that would have landed him in the long run.
So your dad came up with the name Realtree?
He did.
And to me, it's like, again, there's so many little things that have to go right, little details. It's like you miss the name by just a hair, like Real Bush or Green Tree. It's like it doesn't have the same just kind of oomph factor as like a just boom Realtree.
Right.
But the names that you just rattled off, like Earnhardt, all these guys, like, I know you have met the president, Jimmy Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me, that is part of what is so fascinating about your story is like you're growing up in this world and you're seeing all of these people that are just like that to me, like just when we're, bantering back and forth and having conversations is the coolest part where I'm like, you have met all kinds of people and have all of these stories. And it's like, it's fascinating to just like listen to.
Yeah.
But who like maybe give 5 people, like top 5 guys, not saying anybody favorites, but just like maybe just kind of like some 5 names of people you've met that you thought was like really cool.
Well, and you probably already know this about me, but like I'm a huge Braves fan.
Oh yeah.
So like even still, like even though Dad and Chipper were buddies, like Dad has known Chipper since his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
But like I didn't like Chipper Jones because he was my dad's friend. Like I was a big baseball player growing up, but Chipper Jones, like for a lot of people that played baseball that are around our age, like Chipper was my hero.
Yeah.
Wore number 10 a lot, and he was the big reason probably why I ever played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Andrew Jones, like big reasons why I watched the Braves and am such a Braves fan to this day. It was just kind of that era. So Chipper was really cool. One that was really surprising to me, I think just how much of a dedicated hunter and outdoorsman he was and still is. I think he's 99, but is President Carter. Having him down here, he would go as hard as any hunter that I know, and I think he stopped hunting with us when he was 96.
Wow.
But President Carter would get here at 5:15 every morning, and sometimes we would never go back to the lodge, but maybe once or twice, and he'd stay till 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He'd hunt until he just had to go home.
At 96 years
at
old.
96 years old, man. If I'm alive at 95,
Yeah,
96,
yeah.
but still hunting. But he's somebody that would get out there and crawl to get up to the edge of a field to just try to lay eyes on one, or would want to call himself. He'd bring his box calls and stuff, and just very in tune, very involved in the hunt. And for me, I think I don't think he has shot a turkey since he was with us, but when he was 95, no, it was 90. When he was 96, he really couldn't get around as good anymore.
Yeah.
So I think I was a part of I was on his last turkey hunt. It was just me and him.
I think that's actually really cool. I think that like when I've thought about celebrities and people who I would get like what's starstruck, yeah, is the word I'm looking for. People that I would get starstruck over. I don't really get starstruck, but I would like with I guess people I've met. It's just not my personality, I guess, but
Sure.
I can tell you that a former president or a president of the United States, 100% I would be starstruck over.
Yeah.
Probably not our current one, but previous ones, like
Yeah.
I would definitely be like pretty starstruck over.
Yeah.
So like your interaction, I mean, you get to him, like turkey hunted with him, all that stuff like that. That to me is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and he actually, so he's a really good painter, and I think it was the second when he was either 93 or 94. So he hunted with us 5 years in a row. He painted Dad a turkey, and it was really cool, and signed it Carter. And then he engraved a piece of wood to go with his painting. It said, "To a great outdoorsman, Bill Jordan." And so, I don't know, just really cool. And for somebody that obviously is on the other side of the aisle that you would think would maybe, not share the hunting views or even own guns.
Because he was a
Democrat,
yeah.
right? Obviously a different age of Democrat,
Sure.
from back then. But, he loved being out here, loved hunting, and just so cool for me. And I think it was cool for Dad too. And to get to hunt with him with Dad, he said, "Man, I can pretty much do whatever I want to at my age right now." But he said, "Man, if it meant I had to choose this over anything else, I would come here over any other obligation or opportunity that came my way." So during the spring, and I was like, "Man, that's really cool to hear."
Yeah.
Like a man that could go and do whatever he wanted to. He would drive an hour and a half every single day during turkey season that he was available to come here and hunt.
Yeah.
Says a lot about him.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And and I know you know this, but like this place is special, and I guess it's easy to, and I'm so guilty of this, but it's really easy to take things for granted that we have just growing up around it. You just don't think about it all the time, but like I'm so guilty of that with just simple things. But this place is like so awesome, and I think that it's pretty awesome that y'all share it with the people that you do.
Yeah.
Because like I'm not the only person, even in the past week that y'all have come and had hunt. You just had a couple other guys come in town. And it's like the fact that y'all are so open to sharing this place is just a really cool thing. Because it would be easy to be greedy about it. And be like, no, like we're just growing big deer.
Yeah.
And you would lose that camaraderie of it all.
Well, it's kind of like we talked earlier. I mean, this place, the only thing that makes this place worth it for, I think, for Dad and I both, and even, just Mom and brother and sisters, being able to share this with people. To me, it would not be near as fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like spending time here. We had Josh Sparks from Midwest Whitetail last week, Joel Burham from Whitetail Fit, have y'all this week. Chipper's son, he's coming to hunt again. He's already been here like 3 or 4 times. He's coming this weekend. He's going to stay through next week. But I love being able to share and do this stuff with people, because that's the whole point of having a place like this. And, for me, I feel so lucky. Like I don't undervalue just how lucky I am to be able to do all this. And like, I want to be able to share it with others, because really that's what it's all about. I know how lucky, we are to have this place and hopefully be able to share it with people for a long time.
Yeah. All right. So Chipper Jones, Jimmy Carter, president. Who else would you throw?
I
in
would
that
say,
list?
and I was young whenever he passed away, but I would say Dale Earnhardt for
Mhm.
sure. We're big. We've been in NASCAR for a super long time. The Undertaker was kind of cool. Yeah, that was awesome.
Y'all went turkey hunting or
We went
turkey hunting last year?
We turkey hunted
Yeah.
2 years ago, and he had, he's been elk hunting, deer hunting. He's done some pheasant hunting, but he said that was the most fun he's ever had on any hunting experience.
Yeah.
And he's relatively new to it. Ever since he retired from WWE, he's picked up hunting more. But he said that was, the most fun he's ever had on any hunting excursion. So to be able to share that with him was pretty cool. We opening day of turkey season here, killed one, and then he shot one, I think, very next morning. And so he was
Hooked.
He was hooked on it. And so he's going to try to come back down, I think, next spring. And then we're supposed to maybe do a deer hunt down at Honey Break in December with him. But, another person too, it's like, it's cool. I mean, it's cool being around some of these people. But I think for me, what I really get out of it is like, man, like somebody that drives a car 200 miles an hour, somebody that's been a president of the United States.
You're getting them all over the spectrum.
But they just, for them to say, man, this is so fun, so cool. It's not really about anything for me or for Realtree that's like where we're getting anything out of it. I'm not going to say we don't, get really good content and shows out of it. But to me, what I get out of it the most is just that they think it's cool and they want to do it again.
Yeah.
And like the Undertaker, he's already leased a couple of places in Texas to go try a turkey hunt, for next spring. And I'm like, man, he wouldn't have done that, if it wasn't for us giving him, his first experience.
Yeah.
And luckily it was a positive one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That. Anyone else you'd throw on that list? Any like actors or? A lot of country music guys.
Somebody I've talked to and we've never done anything. So it was when he was on. I was a huge Parks and Rec fan. I don't know if you watch Parks and Rec.
Not really.
It's very similar to The Office.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of the same people that started it, but it was Chris Pratt.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
He actually
Great American.
We followed each other on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
When he only had like 10,000 followers on Twitter at the time, and it was like 3 years before he was Star-Lord for Marvel.
Okay.
But he DM'd me and was like, dude, we ought to try to, go on a hunt sometime. Or
Chris
do whatever.
Pratt DM'd you?
Yes. And so.
See, that's the stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's just like, you told me another one that famous rapper, I won't say his name unless you want to, that you connected with on DMs recently because he
Who was it?
ordered some Realtree stuff.
Okay. Yeah. We can talk about that. But so Post Malone actually bought some. He bought a lot of stuff, Arctic Shield stuff. He bought 3 pair of Realtree Crocs.
Yeah. Because you can't have just one set.
That's right.
You got to have 3.
That's right.
I personally have 3.
I think he had all different patterns. I think he had Max 4 Edge, and then we have a fishing pattern that we offer on Realtree.com as well, and he got that. But, he was talking about anyway, his order got declined, and so they had to reach out to him to make sure, verify it.
Y'all declined Post Malone's order?
Well, his address didn't match up with what was on his card.
Yeah.
And so they had to do that just to make sure it was legit. And so, somebody at Realtree actually texted him and was like, hey, just want to verify this if you want to call. And, it said Austin Malone on there. And we were like, it's got to be him. It's got to be him, right? And so anyway, I got his number. And so he had mentioned in a podcast here probably a couple of months ago that, he's engaged and wants to have a camo wedding. So we were talking about like, what do you need from
Dude,
us?
if you snag an invite to that wedding.
Well, I was just offering just to outfit him
Yeah.
in camouflage. If there's anything we could do for the groomsmen, supply fabric, if we need to give it to, build a tux in, because we've done that before for people that request fabric that, do stuff like that. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But we've texted a few times, but kind of crazy.
That is too funny. We had a similar deal to us. Morgan Wallen bought some Seek One merch.
That's awesome.
I can't remember if it was like 2 years ago or something like that, but same deal. Like notification popped up and it's like Morgan
No
Wallen.
way.
We're like, okay, that's kind of neat.
Did y'all talk to him?
No, never did. But what is there was something with Kanye West, wasn't there? Not that like y'all communicated, but he like stole y'all's pattern or something
Yeah, I
like
don't even
that?
know how much I can really talk about it. But,
Okay. Well, we don't have to, but
yeah, when we basically he, which this happens, but like whenever people try to knock off our patterns, sometimes they'll change up certain elements of the pattern, but what people don't know is like we have different ID marks that are in those patterns, not just the name
like
itself.
little fingerprints almost.
Yes, basically. And so we have all that well documented at the office and can pull that up if we need to in any kind of case, for people that try to knock it off. And so he didn't even really try. All he did was
Just straight up.
He just took the logos out, and it was the pattern. It was like, there's AP, there's Advantage, And
Oh, he did it with multiple patterns.
Oh, he did it with a lot. They had their own clothing line. And this whole stuff. There was Kim Kardashian wearing it and stuff. And
No way.
I think he said some stuff in the press about that you shouldn't be allowed to copyright camouflage, basically. And anyway, it got resolved. I think he eventually dropped it and all was settled. But
how long ago
yeah,
was
kind
that?
of crazy. 2019.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm talking about. It's like the amount of just crazy stories like that you're probably full of that like you don't even like us talking will probably just spark another one you'll think of.
Yeah.
That are fascinating to people is like it's probably endless.
Yeah.
I love just listening to your stories because
Yeah.
I mean I remember some of the stuff you were telling us about President Carter that what he was talking about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
That we don't have to bring that up, but
Yeah.
it's just like stories like that are just like gripping.
Yeah. Yeah, some of that I probably won't bring up.
No,
like,
I wouldn't.
But just like some of those private conversations that you're in the middle of the woods, you talk about a lot. I mean, obviously we all know when you hunt with somebody or you're in hunting camp with someone for a period of time, you get to really know somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's, cool is obviously it's a bond that you all get to kind of know one another through this world. And you meet all kind of different walks of life. But yeah, I mean, I think, I try not to, I guess I'm always really self-conscious that I don't ever want it to come across as bragging or like, trying to name drop. And
I have never felt that way about you.
I know you don't. I just
whatsoever.
don't. But I think that, I just try not to ever give off that impression to anybody.
Right.
Because really I've gotten a chance to do a lot of really cool stuff, but like I've been super blessed and hopefully I give a lot of it back. I tried hard to like, just like this place is like, man, this is for me, but this is for my friends too. Like not just having, different people in the industry or having celebrities, but man, during the summer, whether it's turkey season, deer season, like it's all about, what you put back into it as well.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, even backtracking, like when we partnered with you guys, which has been a couple years ago, I guess,
It's flown by.
It really has. And like the relationship side of it was, I'm a relationship guy.
Same
like
here.
relationships are everything to me. I try to be a good friend. I get distracted easily, and sometimes I'm not good at texting.
Sometimes a 200-inch deer shows up, and I gotta go.
And you go ghost. But relationships are like everything to me, and like we've known each other and like been friends, but like getting to know each other like more deeply just over the years, like you're an extremely good person, like a very humble person. And honestly, like someone in your shoes, they could act a completely different way where you are bragging about all the crazy cool things that you've done, but you don't. And so like to me that speaks to like what kind of person you are, that you are extremely humble. And that I think is a big gravitating thing for me. Just getting to know you and becoming friends. That like you're just a really good person.
I've had plenty of people, and I know y'all get comments too, but you know, especially kind of being born into it, plenty of people remind me quickly that silver spoon, you're born into this,
Yeah, but they could have been too, just
Yeah.
as easy as you had. Like
Yeah.
we get into this suburban versus rural debate with guys, and it's a healthy conversation, healthy debate. But my stance has always been like, man, I was born in the city. If you and you were born in the country, if I was born in your shoes in the country, I'd be hunting the way you are. If you were born in my shoes in Atlanta, you'd be hunting the way that I am. And
Yeah.
it's like you and I had no control over where we were born, who our parents were. Like that was not a choice by us by any means. We were, it's just something was that a gunshot?
It was a gunshot, wasn't it?
Sure sounded like it.
All right. Hey, do we want to call Bill again?
Yeah.
You-
I think we do that at the very end.
Okay, do it.
Yeah.
We'll save it.
Um,
You can shut it. Yeah.
yeah, that was a little distracting. But yeah, I mean, we just have that's something that's out of our control, right? So like, the must be nice comments and this, that, and the other. It's like,
I guess for me, like, I mean, I obviously could have gone a different way. Like,
Yeah,
if
you
I,
totally
if,
could
if
have.
I didn't, I just wouldn't be here if it's not something I genuinely enjoyed and took a liking to, and like my brother and sister, like, I think they really enjoy it, but I don't know if they'll be as involved, with the hunting and day-to-day stuff, like I am. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they're too young right now, but, my sister's really busy with softball, brother plays football and other sports, but, I mean, this is, at the end of the day, this is just what I really love to do.
Yeah.
If I didn't, I just wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So like I hope that comes across is that, man, this is our life every day.
Yeah.
And I can't really help that. And if I didn't feel this way, I would have done something else and done something different.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah. And so what I mean, I know that, like, I guess being born in this world where like your whole life's being filmed, you're around all these big name people. Like, I feel like it would be a slippery slope where you could have easily lost your head and start to think like, man, I'm really somebody, and become arrogant and become all these things that that could have easily happened, but like you haven't done that in any way, shape, or form.
yeah.
So that, I mean, that speaks a lot to you, because it's easy for people to get a big head, pretty easy when they get some kind of recognition. Like, I mean, I have personal friends who, start to get followings and they change who they are,
Yeah.
and it's sad to see.
I think for me, it's been a little bit of the opposite, and I don't know if this is. I mean, I'm glad I'm not that way. I'm glad that I don't come across arrogant,
No.
especially to people that know me. But I think for me, it's probably a little bit different, where I've maybe been a little insecure about it at times, like almost like that imposter syndrome of like, man, like, should I even be here? Like, man, I know how it is crazy that I've gotten to hunt with these people, to do this. I get to look at this place anytime I want to and drive up here. And like, I just try to always keep in mind, and Dad's always told me this too from a young age, like, we've been super lucky and blessed, but just know, like, stuff can change tomorrow. Like, you just never know which way business may go, where life may go, where your interest may take you, but like, enjoy it while it lasts, but know that nothing's permanent. You know, like it could change at any time. So,
that kind of jumps over into what you and I talked about last night about, the amount of travel and just like how much we're gone. And I've sort of, I guess you could call it maturing, even though I don't feel like I'm mature in any way, shape, or form. But as you just have enough life experiences under your belt, I feel like you sort of get to a place where maybe you start to have realizations about things. And I feel like what I'm having a little bit of realizations is chasing these big deer. And again, that's kind of what's drawing me into like taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture of everything, because at the end of the day, for example, this Ohio deer. For the last year of my life, I have been absent from home, from my family, from a lot of friends. And what I wouldn't change it. Like I love doing this. I'm literally sick, like addicted, because I love pursuing deer so much that it drives me to make all these crazy long trips and stuff. But I am being torn, because on the other side, I'm like, man, I am sacrificing relationships, family time. My parents are getting older, being vulnerable for a second. My dad is going through like a bad health scare right now. He's 77 years old.
Didn't know that.
He still works his ass off every single day. So I don't even know if I've ever told people this, but people have always speculated like that my dad's some real estate mogul, that I'm related to Elon Musk, and I come from all this family money. But like my dad
Yeah.
owns and operates a pizza shop, a pizza restaurant, for since I've been growing up. And like I was always working in the restaurant with him in the summers, from high school and college. I mean, I was literally like a pizza boy. And
Does he still do it?
still does it every day. He's
Wow.
77 years old, and he just turned 77 in September. And if you go to Little Ozio off Northside Drive in Atlanta, he will be there 100%.
Wow.
He's the guy behind the counter with the gray hair. He works there every day, and he's going through I love my dad to death. I could literally sit here and talk myself into tears over how much I love my dad and how much of a great dad he is. He's going through a health scare right now that's just like, I think, really shocking me to my core, and it's really making me, like, for lack of better words, like get into my feels about stuff way more easily. And I'm looking back at all this time that I'm spending away from my family and my dad and stuff like that, and I'm like, is this worth it? Like, that's sort of what I'm having an internal struggle with, is like, I love this stuff and the memory I have, and I'm really thankful that even though I was out of state, I still had guys. I had Cody, my camera guy, my buddy Kyle, and Kyle had a bunch of buddies over at his house after I killed that deer that I got to share that memory with, that made it special. But what I am doing, my body is breaking. My spine is like not healthy because I'm spending so much time in the car, driving around and stuff. Like, my body is breaking, and I'm basically sacrificing so much to chase a deer like that. And at the end of the day, when I'm looking back on it, yes, I have the memory, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It means everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's just another deer on the wall. And it's like, I'm worried that if I look back on my life when my dad is no longer here, as time goes on, I'm scared to death that I'm going to look back at the time now, at all the time that I was gone from home, and sit there and be like filled with regret that I've got deer on the wall, and they mean the world to me, and I loved every second of it. But to me, I'm like, is that worth the sacrifice of, like, I didn't get to have as many memories with my dad or another loved one or relative or friend that I didn't get to have because I spent all this time elsewhere. And my parents and my family, like, they support me 100%. They wouldn't want me to change what I'm doing for the world because they know that I'm love it and I'm passionate about it. But I'm sort of just like getting to this place of like, okay, back to the roots, kind of making this thing full circle, like back to the roots of like, okay, I'm now hunting a deer in Atlanta I'm really excited about. He's been gone since April. He just showed back up. I've got 3 years of history with this deer. I haven't really like hunted hard in Atlanta, my home, in years. And it's really nice to like sleep in your own bed at night. And I can go grab lunch with my dad or go grab dinner with him after I hunt, or, whatever it may be. But just to be home and be around family, like, that is why I feel like I'm at this crossroads in my life of like, I love chasing deer, but is it crossing a line? Like, am I going to regret this one day that I've pushed myself this far? And so that's where I'm trying to like sort of rebalance And even with the urban stuff, dude, it's so stressful that like my times I've had outside of the urban, I have enjoyed so much more. It's like, do we redirect and start challenging ourselves on some public land stuff? Now, I don't want to jump on that bandwagon and go full tilt on it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the suburban stuff is it's what we're known for. It's what made us different. It's why people watch us. We'll never abandon that. But I am addicted to challenges, and I'm ready for the next challenge. So it's like whether that's public, whether that's trying to find some leases somewhere and doing the land management and whatnot. But
Come down here.
yeah, no, I know.
I mean, it's tougher than what people realize even here.
100%.
Two groups, and not to say that it's not easier than than a public land hunt, but I mean, having two groups here the last 2 weeks, I've have several bucks on the hit list. I've sent you some of the pictures. I think, well, really it's the last 3 weeks. We've had the guys from Sweetwater calls in here as well, and no bucks to show for it. And we probably have 7 or 8 bucks that we've been hunting as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Is with the horseshoe that you have, but you may break that either today or tomorrow. But I totally understand what you're saying on the challenges and wanting something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Some of those experiences.
I definitely think if people had the mindset of that it's easy here, it's a misconception because, I mean, you've had those guys in town they were here like 8 days or something.
So Joel was here 8 days. Josh was here 6 days.
Yeah, and didn't even get a chance or didn't even shoot him.
Josh saw a buck very first day, the deer he was hunting. The rest of the time, he never saw that buck again. I think when he saw him, he kind of wanted to hone in on that deer specifically.
Mm-hmm.
He may have tried a couple of different spots, but that's just kind of part of it. I mean, I think we went through a little bit of that October lull, period. These deer feeding on acorns, and that was part of the problem. I think with the weather kind of cooling up this weekend, first of next week, it'll be a little bit better. But it's just like here, it's 84 degrees.
Yeah,
it's been that way for the last 3 or 4 days. So that already kind of plays at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I think it's the calm before the storm.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it's going to break loose, and hopefully I'll be back home hunting that deer, and we'll be able to actually spend time at home.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday look really good next week. I think it's a high of 60
mm-hmm.
all 3 days, and I think the lows may even be like in the upper 30s. So
yeah.
Really kind of hoping that flips the switch.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go out tonight, and it may break the ice, but I will willingly admit I do have a horseshoe up my rear end for sure.
You do.
So hopefully
I hope it pays off because I feel like I feel almost like a god because a really bad one, having you here. I called you yesterday. I was like, man, I want you to come down. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing you, but it's been tough.
Yeah.
It's been really, I've hunted people just about every day for the last 2 weeks, and they're seeing deer. You just haven't been able to close.
I didn't come here to kill a deer.
I know.
I came here just to get away, to hunt, take a deep breath and just like enjoy the outdoors pretty much. Like, I don't even care if I get to draw back on a deer. Just being here has been a treat. And I'll tell you a horseshoe story real quick because it's funny. It made me think of it. This is like 4 years ago because Drew is the biggest advocate and believer that I've got a horseshoe. And what I mean by that, for people that don't know, is like I'm lucky, extremely lucky, admittedly. This was probably 4 years ago. Drew, it's late in the season. I had already killed a buck. We get in a stand, and Drew and I are like, let's go shoot does. We've only brought one bow. I was taking turns. I was going to film him shoot a doe, and then we were going to swap bows, and he was going to film me shoot a doe. Just having fun with it late in the year. Seek one maybe was the thing. I don't even remember. And Drew had been hunting a buck in there all year long, and just bad luck after bad luck. I had already killed a buck, so we go in there. Doe comes in. He shoots the doe, and he's like, "All right." He's like, "Let's switch." So I hand him the camera. The second I touch the bow. Here comes a doe down this trail. Behind her, small buck. Behind him, a little bit bigger buck. Behind him, a little bit bigger buck. And it was literally a buck train. There were 6 bucks all after this hot doe late season. And the last buck was a stud. And I literally watched this 150-inch, 8-pointer with the bow in my hand. And I'm like, I could kill this deer right now. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, it's like bow touch my hand, here they come. And I tried to like hand Drew the bow and get him to shoot the deer, and like there was too much movement as late season no cover, and the deer ended up seeing us. But
Dang.
it's like
So that's
you,
where the horseshoes for when Drew says it. That's where it kind of
I think that's
originated.
a shining moment for
Yeah,
him, yeah,
that
for
sticks
sure,
out.
because he'd been hunting like hard all year long for a buck
That's funny.
in this exact tree. And the second I come up there with him, like he shoots a doe, hands me the bow. Here come all the bucks. And if he was holding the bow, he would 100% would have killed that deer.
Dang.
So there's a lot of stories
Crazy.
like that. But is there any closing thoughts you have on, kind of like I said, back to the roots, changing gears?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hit on it at the start of the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even, you kind of, I understand. Is somebody knocking? Okay. Um, even for myself too, like went through some stuff last year personally. Really kind of let that eat at me for a couple of months. And I think I just kind of realized that what was super important, I think whenever I'm a consumer of hunting content. Like I
Mhm.
probably watch more than I should. I consume everything from y'all to Lee and Tiffany, Bill Winke, the juries, the hunting public. The list goes on and on. I watch all the Midwest Whitetail Joel stuff as well. And I love the YouTube stuff for me, like just following the stories. It really is not as like obviously the deer is really cool when you kill big deer, when the juries do, but I just like the storytelling stuff of it. And like I have contemplated at the end of last year of maybe getting out of it altogether for me, like letting those guys kind of take the mantle, take over. But I think kind of the reason why I stuck with it is, man, I think there's still people out there that like to hopefully follow our stuff as well, my stuff. Um, I just, that's why I've stayed here, kind of returning back to more of my roots too. Like, don't really have a lot of plans to really do a lot of traveling. I have a Kansas tag, may or may not go to Nebraska. Right now, it doesn't look like it, and I'm totally fine with that. But, just really kind of relearning the farm again, which is
Mhm.
kind of crazy. You would think as much as I hunt here, like I would know what most of these deer do. But, I found it with even you here, the guys here the last couple of weeks, that I'm getting to learn these deer all over again, what their habits are, how it's changed from years past. Their behavior during hot weather, hunting close to bedding cover, acorns falling. How does that kind of change the strategy? That's just kind of been a breath of fresh air to me. And like the least of my worries right now is filming hunts.
Mhm.
Like it's been the camera's been there for a lot of it, but a lot of it hasn't.
Yeah.
And that's just been kind of nice for me. Is I don't know if I'll do the traveling I did like in my 20s, 31. I don't know if I'll go as hard as I did, for the last 10 years. And I'm totally fine with that right now, especially with a little girl on the way, staying home. My dad's also older. He's 74. I have a sister that's a senior in high school. My little brother is 15. So, and like he went hunting with me last week, was able to take a buck with me. But as busy as my mom and dad are with my sister's stuff, like was able to do that with him.
Mhm.
And that stuff to me, regardless of the size of these deer, because honestly, I think people may think that we get super caught up in rack size, and while that's great, like man, most of the deer on our place, we probably have 120, 130 inch deer. That's 10 and 8 pointers. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Mhm.
Like, and I just have really enjoyed getting back to my own roots in a way. And it's kind of crazy that, you and I both are kind of on a similar, have a similar mindset and path with some of that. But to me, it's an exciting thing, probably more than anything. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I appreciate you having us down here. I'm really glad to be a part of y'all's family here. It's just it to us, it has been, like I said, from the relationship side, like it's just been great. And you and I've become real good friends, and like I'm super appreciative for that.
We're super thankful for y'all too. I mean, I know you know that. I mean, I've told this to a lot of people, and I've said this off camera, and I've said it to your face. Like, regardless of what was going to happen with us and Seek One, Realtree and Seek One, like we were going to be friends. I think through this whole process, of really getting to know one another is like, I know you and Drew don't take decisions lightly at all. And Kendall, you really like to get to know who you're going into business with, hoping that's going to be a long-term relationship. And I knew that, we were going to remain, good buddies regardless of the outcome. But I think I speak for everybody at Realtree and everybody that's, inside that company, and for Dad even as well, because, he hears it from Colton too. Like, Colton watches all of y'all stuff, and just, to us, it's been a super blessing to have y'all a part of the team.
Yeah.
Hopefully for a long time to come.
We do not take those decisions lightly. And like I said, I mean, most partnerships that we have are based on the relationships. So I'm very grateful to be here, and it's, looking forward to many years to come. I say we end this thing with trying to call your dad again.
All right, let's do it.
I'm genuinely curious about this. If anyone's in Atlanta, I don't think I mentioned the name of my dad's pizza place. It's called Little Ozio on Northside Drive. If people are listening and they're in Atlanta and they're around that area, if they want to look it up, I want people to go in there and mention my dad, or go up and say to my dad, because he's always giving me a hard time. He's like, when are you gonna, give Little Ozio the plug? Yeah. It's
spell it just so everybody knows.
It's Little, Little, and then Azio.
Azio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little Ozio. So if you go to Little Ozio, especially around lunchtime, 100% my dad will be there. He's the guy that's about 77 years old. You can't miss him. He's going to be behind the counter or cleaning tables and stuff.
That's awesome.
I'm like hoping that my dad contacts me in like a week.
Like,
I'm going to be waiting to hear like when he, if he says like, hey, did you have anybody or did you tell people to come to Little Ozio? Like, I had someone say something to me today. I'm hoping, even if it's just one person.
I'm stopping by next time we go through. Got to.
All right. Bruno, right?
Bruno.
This is the buck your dad is hunting.
Yes, but do you mention Bruno? Because I don't know, like, now that's what Dad calls him. But if you're somebody that
I'm gonna say I'm gonna wing it.
Okay.
Talk to Wes. Okay.
Yeah.
Please answer.
Your call has been forwarded to
Try it one more time.
Yeah, he's got to answer, right?
I mean,
Did you text someone that's with him?
No. Wes said he left, and he should be he was in the truck about 30 minutes ago.
Come on.
That's honestly hard to believe he's not answering.
your call has been
Oh
forwarded to
man.
an automated voice message.
That was gonna. I was literally gonna be like, "Hey, is this Mr. Bill? I just talked to Wes, and I shot Bruno on y'all's part of y'all's farm I lease."
A part of y'all's farm?
Yeah. Oh
Dude,
man,
that would have been so good.
I know. We'll have to. Okay, so for people that are wanting to hear this, we can probably still record it and do like an Instagram reel on it.
Yeah,
I
if
think it'd be.
if we can get an answer. It's honestly, for folks listening, like, it's shocking he's not answering, because he answers
Everything.
Like, if it's a Columbus number, an Atlanta number a lot, it's a telemarketer, and he picks up all the time, and he tries to make them hang up. But I told him, I said, you know why they keep calling you back? It's because you're 100% a success rate for them.
Yeah, he's got a
'Cause
high rating.
They're going to keep calling you if you keep picking up.
Yeah. Should we try one more time?
Try it one more
Okay.
time. Try it one more
Okay.
time. We got to. Oh, dang it. Like, why is he not answering?
You know he's sitting on looking at his phone like, this damn number's called me 5 times. That is the right number, right?
It is. That's what I was making sure, but it is.
Your call has been forwarded.
Oh man, that's so disappointing. We're gonna have to record that somehow, and we'll post it on Instagram or something like that.
If we get it, we'll put it on there. He will answer it. So I mean, I'm just banking on the fact he's not by his phone.
I'm blown away that he hasn't answered because that's what Johnny's whole deal is. Like he literally any number he'll pick it up.
He will pick it up no matter what. And he makes the prank call I did. Like I had him on the phone for 5 minutes. Like
And he didn't know it was you.
No, he doesn't. He wants.
Did you change your voice?
I did. I
He
did.
changed it enough to where he did not recognize
Yes.
it. It was
Is
you.
it Mr. Jordan?
Oh my
this
gosh.
is Sean Malcolm with Medicaid. Are you over age 65? No, I'm 47 years old, so I'm hacked off right now. Dad goes, do you have a real job? This is my real job, sir.
And it was like a 5-minute
It
deal.
was like a 5-minute.
Should we try one more time or should we be done?
One more time.
Okay, one more time. He's going to be so mad.
If he picks up, he will be pissed for sure because we've called so many times. But
I thought this was like a sure
I
thing.
mean,
A for sure
I would have
thing.
thought so too.
Your call.
It's
Because
shocking.
even Johnny, like, or when we were joking and we were leaving lunch, your dad was like, "How do these people keep getting my number?"
Was he picking up?
He was picking him up, and then he called someone and was like, "How do these people keep getting my phone number?" Or I don't know, something like that. And then that's when the idea came to prank call him. But
Yeah.
we'll film that and post it on a reel or something like that
Okay.
on Instagram. But
We will try again.
yeah, we need to get in the woods.
Right,
And
yeah.
thank you for sitting down with us and taking some time out of your day.
Absolutely. Hope we can do it again. And I hope y'all come back, whether it's this year or next year. Y'all are welcome here anytime.
Cool.
It's close for y'all.
We will probably, if we can wrangle Bill, I think that'd be an interesting podcast. So maybe that's the next one we'll do. And then I got to do one telling the story of this Ohio buck, Kimbo.
Okay.
So that'll probably be the next two that we have coming. But
Cool.
anyways, we'll let you guys run.
Awesome.
See ya.
Thank you.